Welcome to VMJPod's Employee Brand Series with me, David Macciocca, and co-host Grant O'Donnell. Each episode uncovers bold ideas, real stories, and practical tips from experts reshaping how organizations attract and retain top talent.
Welcome to VMJPod. We are unpacking employee brand and recruitment marketing in this series. I'm David Macciocca.
I'm Grant O'Donnell, and this is Danielle Brodie.
Hi, guys. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, Danny, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're at Canva?
I am at Canva. I've been there for 3.5 years. I think in Canva years, that's something more like 20 because things move so fast. I know I look far too young, don't I? So I've been in the world of employer branding, which we call talent branding at Canva. We like to give things their own special name and Canva flavor. So bear with me if I slip into that vernacular occasionally while we're chatting. So I've been in the world of employer branding for about, I reckon, 7 or 8 years across a few really varied organisations, sort of monoliths in the Australian culture and market and
Australian
finance.
Post.
Yeah, that's right. Did a stint at NAB most recently before I came over to Canva, and I sort of had this idea maybe like 3 years prior to joining Canva that like tech sounded kind of cool and sexy, and maybe I would want to work in tech. And this is how little my knowledge was of tech.
But it is.
Oh, well, I know it is. It's also hard work and fun and wild and all amazing things. But yeah, this will give you a flavour of my knowledge of the tech industry at the time. I knew of the brands Afterpay and Atlassian. And I thought, I don't really understand what Atlassian do. Afterpay look really cool. But here we are, many years later, and I've ended up at the incredible Canva, being able to be a small part of this story and this adventure.
The Canva unicorn.
The Canva unicorn.
Canvanauts? Is it Canvanauts?
We are Canvanauts. That's how we like to refer to ourselves.
Yeah, employer brand's working.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I can't take credit for that one. That one was developed before my time. But yes, the Canva unicorn. You should coin that.
Yeah.
Don't think it's ever been said before, Grant.
Well, it's a great Australian story, right?
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
With a woman founder and CEO, a woman of colour, no less. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's huge.
Powerful.
Yeah, powerful stuff.
And you joined at the right time because there's been quite a bit of change. And for the listeners or the people who are viewing this episode, we seriously could talk about a lot. But we are going to try focus in. Try.
Wish us luck.
We do our best.
Focus in on how to have a sustainable and breathe life into an EVP over a period of time.
Yeah, gorgeous. I mean, I'll preface this conversation by saying this is not a handbook or a guidance to others, but I'm very happy to share what's worked for us, some of it by design and some of it by happy accident, and hopefully some of it resonates with folks.
Well, let's get stuck in.
Yeah, really
Let's
looking forward to
unpack
it. EVP.
We call it a PVP. See, I warned you about this. We like to give everything a special name. So
the Canva version.
the Canva version. So employee value proposition. It probably won't surprise you given we call our people Canvanauts that we, aren't particularly wedded to the word employee. So we call it a people value proposition.
Nice.
EVP, PVP, interchangeable, same thing.
Perfect.
That makes sense.
Like it.
Canva's a big company.
Yes,
Certainly
it is.
grown.
Yeah.
And maybe we can start with the context of, it sounds like you've been a really busy place for the last 3.5 years, and you've probably, given that you're doing lots of stuff, have changed your perception on activities or things.
Yeah.
And have lived experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you look like you're about to build on that, David.
I was.
Back to you.
What surprised you most
About Canva?
about joining the talent brand team?
Oh, gosh, everything.
You can only choose one.
I think what I hadn't experienced before and what I love is being in a very large but very founder-led environment. I'm used to working in quite corporate structures. So what I love about working at Canva is it's very founder-led, and our founders have incredible vision for the product, vision for our community of users, vision for the world. We have this 2-step plan to, be one of the most valuable companies in the world and to do the most good that we can. They have vision for our employee experience or our Canva audit experience that is truly theirs, and it's very inspiring, and it really does inform sort of every decision we make and every action we take. And that's a really different ride to be on compared to, what is the board, what is the shareholder, what is the CEO sort of saying, and what's the textbook best practice approach here, and we'll just rinse and repeat. Canva's not that. We design for Canva for what's best. We'll learn from best practice, but at the end of the day, we're going to do the things that are going to move things forward at Canva.
Does that open up more of a appetite for risk?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. It also opens up a bit more opportunity for empowerment. Like if you see an opportunity and you can show how you can move things forward for Canva by pursuing it, then there's so much we can do. We love to say we're only 1% of the way there. So it's the opportunities are endless. It's we like to call them crazy big goals. We've got a lot of them.
Yep. And it's not like turning to an Australian iconic brand, Canva. A lot of people use Canva. We use Canva. We love Canva.
We love to hear it.
Yeah. It's a great product. But you are not just here in Australia. You're in many locations.
Yeah. So what might surprise folks to know is that we have 5.5 roughly 1,000 Canvanauts and teams. When I joined, it was in about roughly 8 very diverse country markets, and now rapidly expanding beyond that. So from a hiring perspective, that and a talent brand strategy perspective and an EVP perspective, that was also something I hadn't experienced before, and did help shape the way we approach that work, because we have to be really intentional about designing things globally. Otherwise, I could easily end up in my Melbourne bubble here in Australia and just be designing experiences or articulating those externally for the folks that are around me, not for the folks in Philippines or Austin, Texas, or the Czech Republic, or New Zealand, or wherever it might be.
Yeah, I suppose where I was going with it is that very well known in Australia, but maybe not in those other locations where you might be able to leverage your consumer brand into your employee brand strategy. So we're going to be talking about EVP, clearly. But it's topical, isn't it? Because it'd be different.
Absolutely. This is a conversation we have internally all the time. Like, what is the currency of Canva, or the awareness or the brand affinity, the Canva love? What's the Canva love in this location? So I think that sets the stage for, Canva doesn't struggle to receive applications. That's not the problem an EVP helps us solve for. What it does help us solve for is creating that consistent thread across all different markets that we can amplify and leverage to articulate our value proposition as an employer. Even in markets where we have strong consumer awareness, people might not necessarily be thinking about Canva as an employer at all. So, it's important we're really clear on what our value proposition is, that value proposition is really authentic and well-defined internally, so we know when we suddenly find ourselves entering a new market, what it is that we can speak to that will be true for those locations or for all locations.
And not everyone's obviously in the unique position, like as yourself, working on a global basis. What does that look like for someone to sort of say, hey, this is how we are in Australia, but this is how we are in another market? How could you articulate that?
A few different ways. Firstly, speaking practically, of course, like from a marketing perspective, we'll always leverage any consumer marketing activity that's happening in that location and kind of piggyback that almost to create that conversation and discussion around Canva and leverage that for our talent brand. But I think what might answer your question more directly, Grant, is to say our PVP work was very data informed. We actually worked with incredibly bright man who is now our supergroup lead for generative AI in the US. And at a time when AI wasn't quite as topical, and certainly not in people teams as it is now, we used AI to really mine all our verbatim feedback that we had through an employee engagement. And that allowed us to have that global element woven into the PVP right from the get-go.
I mean, AI is, we try not to mention AI, but
Yeah.
every episode
I feel
we
like
talk
I
about
just
AI.
said a swear word.
No. But no, it's really interesting. Like when you heard for the first time, because 3.5 years ago, it's people are not talking about LLMs or AI like they are now. How receptive or curious were you to think that it could be of benefit and really influence?
Yeah. Let me take you on the journey. So
Yeah,
I'm highly curious and I love experimentation and I love discovery, which is part of the reason why I'm a good fit for Talent Brand, right? Like if we're doing our work well, that's an important element of it. Otherwise, we're just designing things rather than uncovering them. So having said that, I was having conversations with our incredible employee listening lead, Maddie Pearce. Shout out to Maddie if you are listening to this. And I was saying to her, I think we need to add more questions to our employee engagement survey. And she was like, look, we tried it. We get requests all the time. And, we try to really ensure that the survey stays really tight and focused. And, Danny, we get tens of thousands of free text comments. I think you'll find there's actually data already there. And I was like, no, we need to design specific EVP questions because
you're digging your heels in.
Yeah, well, with the greatest respect, but like this was my mindset at least, even if this wasn't directly the conversation I was having, my mindset was best practice is that, you design very specific questions to uncover specific things. But where she got me excited was she said, I've been connecting with this guy, John, in the US. He's an expert in the world of AI and he's really excited about how we can use this in our people team. Could we use this as a test case? And let's just see where we get to. We can revisit the conversation if we don't get the outcome we need from using AI. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I would love to be a part of that. And it was so exciting. And back in 2022, I think it felt pretty innovative. So then I was fully on board when I saw what came out of that and the richness and the depth. Of course, it wasn't AI set and forget. We did a whole lot of human-centered design work and workshops and brought that really critical human lens to the work. But AI got us, I'd say, a third of the way there in a way that we never would have been able to on our own. And it cut out 3 months worth of work designing questions, implementing them into some kind of engagement platform, reviewing the data, all that kind of thing. We just skipped right through that. Very fun, very exciting.
I mean, the richness of that data, that's showing highly engaged employees, right? So they're providing that level of information. Otherwise, they could just look at it as a tick box exercise.
Exactly, yeah. Like I won't speak to our engagement survey response rate because that's not my lane, but I will, other than to say it's super high. It's way higher than other organizations I've worked in, which makes me really proud because people really care. And it says to me that hopefully they feel that they're going to be listened to as well.
So has your perception changed around doing an EVP internally versus going to a consultant? Because I'm assuming in a previous life outside of Canva, you may have been part of that process one way or the other, but it sounds like internally you did it yourself.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it's been quite sustainable too. So yeah, curious to get your thoughts.
Yeah, totally. This is all now what was partly textbook experience. Now it's learnt experience, and that's very much evolved my position. Going back to what I said at the beginning of our chat, though, this is not like a lift and shift for every organization, but certainly for Canva, this is what has been so successful. I think instead of a campaign, because we weren't planning with an external launch in mind. And instead of a campaign, we've got a compass. And a compass is something that you come back to time and time and time again, whereas a campaign is a moment in time, right? Like you launch it, and as society evolves, if the language and the zeitgeist shifts, there's, potential that you'll need to come back to the way that that's been articulated and reframe that. And what I've experienced and heard from others in the industry is when that happens, you often end up redoing your whole EVP. So that's not something we've experienced because of our soft launch. We really just set out to, we didn't design an EVP, we set out to unlock it, I guess, or uncover it, and then really go through this gradual organic process of weaving it into our narrative, our storytelling. And I can hand on heart say it's part of every single touch point that we have with candidates is linked back to our EVP in some way. And this probably all sounds like super cerebral, but from a practical perspective, when I'm reaching out to talent, to Canvanauts, and I'm saying like, hey, I'm wondering if you've got a story you want to share, the EVP shapes the questions that I'm asking them. But the great thing is, because we're not wedded to, campaign language, I'm not trying to shoehorn employee stories. I'm not trying to shoehorn Canvanaut stories into very specific framing or language. They can, as long as they are reflective of these 4 broader territories that we have, it gives us a lot of flexibility for Canvanauts to tell their stories in a completely authentic way, which is a benefit of this soft launch approach that I hadn't considered at the beginning. And I don't know if I shared this already, so apologies if I'm covering the same ground, but I have to be honest, when we scoped the project and we decided that we were going to go with this soft launch approach, I was a tiny bit disappointed. I was like, oh, we're doing all this hard work.
Take a big swing.
Take it big. Take it big. We're doing all this hard work. It deserves to be amplified externally. But in hindsight, we, particularly myself, would have got so bogged down in the marketing aspect of it, in the tagline, in the copy, and the way that the narrative would have been articulated, that it may have become a distraction. And I don't know if we would have gone as deep and as authentic as we did. And that's not to say that other people who launch EVPs or PVPs via campaigns don't have authentic PVPs. I've seen ones that I know are incredibly authentic, but I just think for us in that context where we'd experienced huge growth in the size of our team, it was the right moment in time to do it that way.
What about if you're breaking into a new market now?
I mean, we might do campaigns, but they're not specifically the launch of an EVP. We've done campaigns in the UK, for example, with the acquisition of Flourish. We were supporting with their hiring, and we come back to the EVP and we look at which territories we think are going to resonate most in those markets. And then when we do that storytelling through a campaign, but it's not a tagline.
Can I, maybe this is going to be a naive question. Like when you're saying the EVP, you've got an EVP, you've got all these different locations, you've been anointed a Canvanaut. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So like, is the statement the same, but the pillars are slightly different? Or is it just one statement with the pillars that you have, not just here in Australia, but all locations?
I don't know that we have a statement. I mean, we have a statement on our careers website, which, humble brag, we get about 5 million views a year on our careers website. That statement, the hero statement on our landing page, has not changed since we launched,
So
we launched the careers website prior to the EVP. Okay. And so that hero statement, design your future with Canva, it may change one day. We're not wedded to it, but it didn't change as a result of the EVP. Now, could it? Sure. But was that the priority for us to change the hero statement? No. The priority for us was to bring really compelling, authentic storytelling as a vehicle to share our EVP.
Okay, so the statement's the same globally.
Yeah.
Do the pillars change from region to region?
Spicy question. Yeah, so I mean, it's very case by case, isn't it? The pillars don't change. The PVP is a whole greater than the sum of its parts, so it never changes. But there will be moments in time and markets where we will choose to lean into one territory over another. I'm going to speak really, not to make it too obvious, call a spade, but if we're looking for folks in technology, we don't want to miss a beat in talking about the compelling challenges that people get to work on in engineering at Canva, because we know that resonates with engineers. We know they'll leave, incredible tech companies to go work in some scrappy little startup because the problems they're solving are more interesting. We also know that engineers at Canva and our team more broadly, our whole team, value the opportunity to work on some of our toughest challenges and our most interesting challenges. So, of course, we're not going to miss a beat when we're talking to engineers about, sharing that story about working on compelling challenges at Canva. So we might lean into different territories and different moments, but overall, I think there's a consistency. There has to be, right? Because we know it's true for everyone. So we can't really go to a market and say and omit a territory of the PVP, because then we're not going to be attracting the types of folks who are going to thrive at Canva, because these things are very much balanced across the give and the get. So it's what we offer, but it's also what we ask in return. And we're not setting up anyone for success if we're not really clear about that from the get-go. So I think it's every territory and every location in every specialty. That would be the aim.
Yeah. And I'm assuming the language does change slightly. I'm assuming that you don't want everyone to apply for a position like they probably would in Australia, because you're at the top of the hill, awesome consumer brand, people like, freaking awesome company, I want to work for that company. So to have a sustainable employee brand with your EVP pillars, I'm assuming you want to repel people too.
100% we do. Not everybody wants to work in a company where there's a really, perhaps it's our unique culture that can be quite quirky at times and very heartfelt and very supportive, but also very empowering, and, an element of us challenging each other to take on bigger challenges and bigger goals all the time. That's not for everyone. Or a rapidly evolving company, or a culture that's evolving. Like, we say our culture is evolving and we embrace that. So some people want to work in an organization that with more consistency and, perhaps a little bit less quirky and leaning into the playful and the fun. Or perhaps they want to work somewhere where they are doing a little bit more rinse and repeat, and they feel like they're able to bring that best practice and just do it the way that they know without evolving and iterating things. So then our EVP, if it's doing its job well, acts as a repellent, and people go, hopefully they think, best case scenario, Canva's still an incredible product, and that does make sense. I would imagine those types of people are the type of people who have brought such an incredible product to life. But I don't know if that's for me. I don't know if I'd thrive in that environment. I don't know if that's what I want maybe at this stage in my life, or maybe in my career, or maybe for my personality. It's not right for me, which is not to say Canva makes personality hires. That's not what I'm trying to get at. It's a very long-winded answer to your question, but yes, absolutely. I'm a passionate advocate for EVPs that allow people to self-select out, because I think it's so much better for them. It's also better for our recruitment team, because then they're not screening more resumes than they need to be. It's win-win.
And are you painting that picture by being quite explicit around it, or is it kind of because you're talking to such an extreme of what the culture is like that people are like, I'm opting in or I'm opting out?
Look, we talk about working at Canva as authentically and openly as we can in an environment that has so many different flavors and expressions of the experience. So, yeah, I hope that we are talking about it in quite an authentic way.
Do you think there are benefits in doing a soft launch to help people not apply for a position?
I'm not sure if it's the soft launch that allowed us to
Get the right people in.
So other than perhaps there might be a slight connection for us in that moment in time, it allowed us to go really deep with the insights, really deep in the conversations and the workshops that we were doing. We were thinking about things through what we were uncovering through so many different lenses. For example, we were thinking about these things that people value. It feels like they're true of today, and it feels like they're true of yesterday. But will we be able to offer that experience tomorrow, or in a year's time, or 2 years' time? So that gives you a sense of the deep thinking that we were giving this work. And so for us, it allowed us to go deep. Maybe the link there, to your point, is perhaps a more authentic, credible value proposition than one where, myself and the project team were caught up in thinking about how we were going to articulate this externally.
And what about I guess the EVP in a way would need to evolve over time as well, from where, initially started as such a small company and now grown so rapidly. Is the retention there for those sort of early starters, that they're like, now I want to be part of a company that was small that's now up to like 5,000?
That's a good question.
People as well?
Oh, look, the folks that have been around for a long time at Canva have seen so much growth and change. I think that you're showing a lot of empathy in that question. I remember talking to one of our Canvanauts from marketing when I first started, and I was like, how are you feeling? Like, we've just onboarded like hundreds and hundreds of newbies, we call them, myself included. Like, how does that feel? And, she took a breath and then she said, I really care so much about our mission to empower the world to design, and our 2-step plan and what we stand for as a company. And it's so exciting to see all these people joining. And I just hope that they care as deeply as everybody who's been here from day one. And I think that's really, really fair. So, I can't really say has our EVP helped with retention, but I'd love to think that it has. And, certainly part of the stress testing was me just through conversation taking it to different tenured Canvanauts and saying, like, how does this sit with you? How does this sit with you?
You were just warming her up to hit her up in the future to say, hey, I'm going to ask you a story.
How did you know? No one, there's never a casual conversation with me. My brain's always like worrying, like, oh, I wonder if we could spotlight you and some storytelling.
Sounds like a
so
quote.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was just, my head was in a cloud over here, a little speech bubble, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I hope no one in the Melbourne campus in particular is listening to this, because they've definitely experienced my recruiting them for content for sure. Well, not my fault they have such interesting stories.
This episode is brought to you by Video My Job, introducing the fastest way to turn employee stories into multi-channel content. One video now instantly becomes branded blogs, quote cards, social posts, and more, all perfectly formatted for the channels you use to attract and engage talent. And the best part? Zero editing required. Record once, repurpose everywhere. Book your demo at videomyjob.com and experience the new era of employee content creation.
I'd like to pivot slightly just to talk about the connections you've made with incredible people. You probably, in a typical role, if you join the software engineering team and you're doing engineering, or you're doing some other role in marketing, you wouldn't get access to these incredible people, these amazing stories. How has it benefited you in making connections at Canva?
I've been very lucky that I joined Canva in Melbourne. And the reason I say that is when I first started, Sydney has always been our headquarters, and it's where our flagship campus is. It's an incredible experience for Canvanauts in Sydney.
But Melbourne's better.
Well, we didn't have a hub. We didn't have a campus in Melbourne. So actually for the first year, I found it quite challenging. I was flying to Sydney a lot to really try and get FaceTime with my team, and I was missing that sense of connection. We had a hub, but when I first started, there wasn't even a pot plant in it. So, it wasn't really much of a vibe going on. So no one went in. Then our hub grew. More people started attending. Our vibe team came down and zhuzhed it up a bit and made it gorgeous. But we did a lot of sort of grassroots stuff ourselves, so we got to know each other really well. And then a couple of years back when we opened the Melbourne campus, it's a lot smaller than Sydney. I think maybe average attendance, well, I'm getting into dangerous territory talking about stats, I don't know, but maybe it's like 80 or 100 people daily. And because of that, we don't have neighbourhoods, so I don't sit with anyone from the people team, right? In fact, like most of the people I sit with, engineers, data analysts, the occasional designer or product designer. So I know these people super well, right? Like I know them. I know what actually makes them cross when they're having a bad day, or what about the experience is maybe feeling a bit grippy for them on, a certain week or month or whatever it might be. And I also know the moments when they come into work and they have sparkly eyes and they're feeling really good. So it's kind of like a little bit of organic discovery alongside your like more, formal analysis kind of work. And I feel like it helps me to understand the experience from the inside out.
Yeah, so doing the EVP internally has benefits for the person internally who is creating the employee brand effectively.
I think so.
Has it led on to other interesting projects outside of...
Yeah.
Because it sounds like the EVP is just always on because it's
It
like
is.
soft launch and there's lots of stuff to do.
It's so cool being approached by other people in our people team who are working on some really awesome stuff, like a refresh at the moment of our culture book. And to
That's
see,
cool.
Yeah, very, very fun, exciting, meaningful piece of work. Because the current version is phenomenal. So like the fact that we're doing a refresh. Don't start, David. It's a compass. It's not a Bible. Look, it's just been so cool to have people come and tap me on the shoulder and say like, oh, send me the launch deck for the PVP, or do you want to be involved in this project? We think that lens would be really helpful. And I think part of the reason for that is we had like a really cross-functional project team. So we had all these, the PVP was shaped by the perspectives of all these people from areas of business you might not associate with PVP, particularly within our people team, like, performance and reward. Of course, we had folks from employee listening and so on, but it's like a really diverse range of people. And then they come back and they want you to consult, or they want your input, or they want you to help weave that red thread from the outside in. And so then it's like this lovely, beautiful...
red thread. Do not pull the red thread.
No, we are pulling the red thread. We're weaving the red thread.
Weaving, not unraveling.
Not unraveling. We're weaving. Let me reframe that,
It's
gentlemen.
by design.
It's by design. It's this really beautiful thing that happens that we've unlocked this EVP. We haven't designed it. We've just highlighted what we know to be true in a way that is more visible and more cohesive. And we've articulated that externally. I'll say we are always articulating that externally. And then we're weaving that through to make sure it's reflected in other like cultural touch points and significant moments for Canvanauts. So we're continuing to re-articulate it. So, I'm preaching to the choir, but it's like candidate, onboarding, newbie, seasoned employee. Hopefully everybody has a sense of that PVP. They won't have the language to call it a PVP, but they'll have a sense of it at every touch point. That's the dream.
Has it naturally, it sounds like it's just organically evolved into the employee experience.
Yeah.
So it hasn't needed to be, I'm employer brand, this is how we're doing it. Make sure it's, continued all the way through. It feels like the employee experience is a real consideration.
Yeah. The employee experience is a huge consideration, and that's very founder-led. That comes from our CEO, Mel Perkins. She has deep care and vision for our employee experience. So I'm really lucky that that's our default position as a company. Is we're thinking about, we always say, our goal from day one has been to design a workplace that empowers our team to thrive and do the best work of their lives, because we know the experience and the growth and the thriving is directly connected to how good a product we can create. So that's the link. So in that environment, is it hard for me to come in and say, hey, I was thinking about the PVP and I was wondering if we might be able to weave in this aspect or that aspect, or maybe it's relevant here? And no, in that environment, I'm already preaching to the choir because everybody cares so deeply. So very lucky.
They care internally, and they also care when they leave, because you jump onto LinkedIn and it's we see ex Canva.
Yeah, that's a bit of a new trend that I've seen over the last sort of maybe year or so. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a pretty cool moment in our story to be, you know, in people's profile alongside ex Google. Or
We haven't touched on. Is there a big team? What's the team look like in employer branding?
right now,
Talent branding.
Talent branding.
you would probably be surprised to know that as of right now, it's just me.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah,
I am surprised.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I am surprised.
I like to think we punch above our weight. No,
No, that's so cool. So, like,
we started off as a larger team, and this is not uncommon to Canva. We've had, you know, people through career growth have taken on really some incredible roles. So Charlotte Anderson, who was my coach when I first started looking after the employer brand team, she's now our head of people experience, which is where Talent Brand lives. It's where Talent Brand lives, and I couldn't think of a better home for us. I've had a teammate go into our talent team at the moment, bringing in she started as a recruiter, but went into Talent Brand, and now she's gone into our talent team, and so she's bringing that experience and those lenses to that work. And I also have a coach at the moment who's on parental leave. So at the moment I am holding down the fort. And look, it's fun. It's a fun time to sort of own the strategy and be part of the prioritization and looking for the opportunities where we can not pull that red thread, but weave it. Thread the needle and weave it through.
how do you say no to things?
Oh,
Easily.
she shudders. No, not easily at all. I think what's hard, David, is that I feel that our work relates to everybody else's work. So when people ask for you to consult, no, you cannot. And we, we did have a time at Canva where we were talking a lot about doing fewer things well, because we recognized everybody was trying to do a lot. So for me, I'm not great at saying no. And like I say, I see opportunities everywhere. And as somewhat a custodian of our EVP, it's, I really don't want to turn down an opportunity, particularly to weave that internally. It's about scaling back what I bring to each project, scaling that up or down. So a really practical example, that culture book I mentioned, I'm keen to jump both feet into that, and I'm making that a real priority amongst BAU and other goals that I'll be working on over the next 6 months. The talent team have come to me and asked me to support with a growth toolkit that they're working on. And I've said to them, really love to be involved, would love to bring my thinking and my lens to that, but it's going to be in a more consultative capacity. So we're going to connect async, and they're going to ask for my review and input and feedback at certain moments throughout the project rather than being in there. So I started my sort of journey in Talent Brand very much in the copywriting space. I grew up an only child. We didn't have a television. I read all my kids' books by the time I was, 5, and consequently pretty quickly was reading all the other books in the house. So I love words, and clearly that's where I started. And so when you put a piece of copy in front of me, I think people know, and it gets used against me. They know I can't. I get itchy fingers and I get in there, and I just love the storytelling, and I love to enhance copy. And that's what I have to choose to do less of, which is great for my growth. I think over the last couple of years in particular, like leaning into other skill sets, perhaps more strategic ones, but having that in my back pocket so I can hopefully tell a great story and cast a good vision. And there's moments when that's really helpful, especially internally. And so then I've got that in my back pocket and I pull it back out, but I'm not doing that as such a key focus. We call it handing over your Lego. Like, something that you've done that may have made you successful before, or you helped Canva, achieve in this area. If you hold on to your Lego, you're taking that growth opportunity away from other people, and also Canva might need you more elsewhere. So that's how we describe it internally. So I'm trying to hand over more of my Lego.
Although it's obviously a surprise that you're the only person in the employer branding team for Canva, it's not unique to a lot of organizations, right?
Absolutely. And it's not reflective of our team structure, I should say. We have at the moment a team structure of 2, but that's fluctuated over the years that I've worked at Canva. But no, it's really common for people to be a solo operator. I've been in teams of 1 or 2 in every other organization that I've worked in. When I started, we were a team of 4, including our coach, and that was by far the largest employer brand team that I had worked in. And we were doing a lot of foundational work then, like creating a careers website from scratch and, establishing some of our social media strategy and that kind of thing. That work has now moved into BAU. It's shipped, it's done, it's always on, but it's the hardest part is done.
And how are you, I guess, that's all built now, and obviously you've got to say no when you can say no or choose when you want to be a consultant. How are you helping, I guess, other people in the organisation to amplify the employer brand or embed it in the other parts? Yeah. So I guess you can, weave the thread.
Yeah, weave the thread. Look, I can't take credit for this work, but there was an incredible program that was launched a couple of years ago by my now coach, Fran, and she and some other teammates from other areas launched our Canva Ambassador Program. So that's we were very much keen to empower our team, Canvanauts, to go and speak about Canva and to share their experience. So people go through this training, and we also have this Canva at a Glance portal that was designed by our comms team, and that has like key stats and information about our MAUs and so on that can be shared externally to make sure we're telling like a really tight, cohesive story. And people aren't sharing stuff that's out of date. So I direct people a lot to that, and then, of course, try and empower teams with like suites of assets and so on. We have like a really, I think, beautifully curated suite of hiring assets.
No. Not Canva,
yeah, not Canva. Yeah, we just send any old thing out there.
You got the tool for it. So.
Yeah, they're in PowerPoint, of course, as you would expect. It's always funny when we get vendors coming and presenting to us in PowerPoint or Google Docs.
Oh, no.
So it's it happens all the time. I always feel a little bit bad for them because I'm like, we're probably gonna kindly call you out on this. But anyway, that work wasn't done by me either. I'm here to shame them.
How dare you?
Ring the bell. Come on, make the effort. Know your customer. That I feel like I'm here spruiking everybody else's work. And that work of the really beautifully curated talent brand assets was done by Em Vaughan, who's now moved to Talent, and our brand team. So those are gorgeous, and they're very much templates to empower our team to use. And right now I'm working on another template for emerging hiring markets, which comes back to your question, because in these markets where we have no team, no hub, no campus, we have nothing, we're looking for like country leads or people to really bring the growth to that region. What's the value proposition for them? So for me, it's less so. Well, some things we will literally leave out because it might be set up via an EOR, so they might not have access to exactly the same elements of the experience. But it's sometimes just about a sequencing thing, right? Like you can design content that's all about like, who Canva is, but here's what the experience could be for you. Whereas in this is like, we don't assume you know who Canva is, or if you've used Canva, or if, your mum uses it for her small business or whatever, you probably have no idea of the scale. So it's more leading with that information that really to give people a flavour of the scope and the growth trajectory and, our millions of monthly active users and so on. That's what those assets are designed to do. But it'll still be the same EVP, right? Like compelling challenges still applies if you are going to work as a country lead in a new or emerging market. So yeah, those are the sorts of things that we do to empower our team. We're also really lucky. We have this incredible portrait library, so we all leverage that a lot. It's a library of professionally shot Canvanaut photos, and they're really quirky and they reflect a lot of personality and bring the sort of Canva flavour. visually, so we can leverage those across all our channels as well, and so can our teams. Helps from a representation perspective, so it's not just always the same people from the same location being heroed. It's a variety of different folks from like different specialties and different demographics and all of that that we can leverage for different markets.
I feel like I could talk with Danny we could talk with Danny for quite some time.
This sounds like a wrap-up message, David, and it's 1:04, so
well, we have been going for about an hour.
surprised.
I'll hand over to you. Any last question for Danny before just one? Just one, mate.
One more.
Well, you don't have to. It's all good.
What's the
Do you sleep? No, just kidding.
do you sleep well? That did run through my mind when you said you're the only person there, and so much going on. Is there something that you've been able to do in Canva that you haven't been able to do anywhere else?
Thousands of things. Launch
Here
a
we
careers
go.
website.
Another hour.
Launch a careers website that is
Yeah, that's
completely not custom design. There is no element of a template in it. Oh, that's one of my proudest things we've ever done. It's like wedding dresses. Everybody feels that theirs looks so different, but to me, every wedding dress is white and inherently the same. And I'm really proud that we were able to be empowered to create something that does feel like it reflects Canva.
That's awesome. And I think that's been recognised by a lot of people as well, right? They'll compare themselves. What's the Canva website look like? How is this? Or you're in an organisation. I've had this chat with other EB leaders as well. They'll say, oh, people said to me, I want our website to look like Canva. I'm like, but what is your website built on?
Yeah, totally. What is your website?
How are you going to make it
and
look
also,
like that
should
website?
it look like Canva? Is that reflective of who you are as an organisation? Because obviously it needed to look a certain way. It needed to look really... I'm treading on I'm about to toot our own horn. Needed to look like visually super appealing because we're Canva. Like we can't have something that looks daggy.
It's brand aligned. It's authentic, right?
Yeah, it's brand aligned. But if it's not for other people, then like maybe it's more like your narrative or your storytelling or something else. Like, yeah. But for us, and that was a team effort as well. Yeah, but that's something
awesome.
I'm really proud of.
Stuff happening over at Canva. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you, Danny. Thanks for coming in and sharing your story.
Yeah, it's been incredible. Hopefully, I won't be asking to delete too many sections of what I've shared when we go to edit. No, it's been a real joy. Thanks.
That's awesome. Thank you.